Yes. So, in the topic of the velocity of gases, we have to derive an equation that is the equation for most probable velocity. And the derivation starts from the famous popular Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law. And if you have to write the equation, Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law, it goes like this. The first equation which I have written there, 1 by n, Tn by dc is equal to 4 pi m2 by rt to the power of 3 by 2. So that is basically square root of the term, cube term of that, e to the power of minus mc square divided by 2rt c square. So as I told you, this is a differential equation. Now we have to differentiate this equation for the derivation of most probable velocity. And if we differentiate the Maxwell-Boltzmann equation with respect to velocity, c term, so d by dc of the LHS will be equal to how to differentiate the RHS part. You have to take the constants out. So the first part of the RHS, 4 pi m2 by RT to the power of 3 by 2 is a constant. I have taken out of the differentiation and then differentiating the rest of the term. And you can see that C appears as C square. So what is the derivative of C square? If you apply the formula and solve the equation, the solution of the equation will be like that. And now you can see that the second equation, it's a sum of two variables, and you can take CE minus MC square by 2RT as common in both the variables. If you do that, the remaining part will be that. And the final solution we have arrived at. But you know, when we differentiate with respect to C, the answer can refer to any velocity. It can be RMS, it can be most probable or average velocity. But since we are deriving the equation for most probable velocity, we should apply a condition which correctly describes the most probable velocity. Now, as you see, where is the most probable velocity located on the distribution curve? At the peak of the curve, is it not? Because the definition is the velocity possessed by maximum number of molecules in the gaseous sample is called most probable velocity. So here is your term, most probable velocity. And on any curve, the differential value or d by dx of the maxima and the minima, in fact, anyways, this curve doesn't have a minima. Generally talking, the maximum value of a curve, d by dx of the maximum point of the curve, will be 0 always. We know this. We know this result. So since we are deriving most probable velocity, to this answer of differentiation, we will apply this condition. So at this point, the differentiation value should be 0. So the whole equation should be equated to 0. But when I equate the whole equation to 0, so the RHS part also becomes 0. However, the RHS now has two terms. One is the constant 4 pi m 2 pi RT 3 by 2. And you know m is the molecular weight of the gas, R is the real constant, pi and T. These are all constants. They have fixed values, finite values. So definitely their products and their quotients cannot be, combinations of these cannot be 0 in this way at least. So this cannot be 0. So which other term can be 0? Because it's the product we are looking at. The second term can be 0. So when the second term is 0, we will write like this: CE to the power of minus MC square divided by 2RT into 2 minus MC square RT. Now, when I equate this to 0. Again, I can send this term to the RHS and make the product 0. Finally, the equation simplifies as minus 2 minus mc square divided by RT is equal to 0. So now the C what we are referring here, actually this is the C which has been obtained from our equation, Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution equation itself. But since we have applied the condition of most probable velocity, this C is now the most probable velocity C. And that most probable velocity C, say this, mc square divided by RT is equal to 2. Is equal to 2. Send all these terms to the other side. So the most probable velocity becomes square root of 2RT divided by m. In the similar lines, we can also derive the equations for average velocities and root mean square velocities from the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law. Now, the derivation of most probable velocity is enough according from your syllabus point of view. So the other velocities equations we will just remember, we will just directly take the results. C average is equal to square root of 8RT divided by pi m. C RMS is equal to square root of 3RT divided by m. So now we have the equations for all three types of velocities of the gaseous samples in front of us. So that is a usefulness of Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law. Why? Because as I told you, it is almost like a mother equation, a source equation from which you can derive different types of velocities. Right. So once we have results in our hand, what would we do? What would we do next? We'll try to solve some numerical problems using these results, right? So in that case, let us solve a couple of problems. You can get questions like this. Calculate the root mean square velocity, average velocity, and most probable velocity of hydrogen gas at 0 degrees Celsius. So how do we go about with the solution? First, always in any numerical question, half of your problem is solved when you write correctly the given data. So what is the given data in the problem? Two terms are given, the temperature and the hydrogen's name is mentioned. Therefore, we can calculate the molecular mass of hydrogen. So when I tell it is 0 degrees Celsius, don't take temperature as 0 because we are going to use Kelvin scale because that's the SI unit of temperature. So convert 0 degrees Celsius to Kelvin becomes 0 plus 273. So 273 Kelvin. What is the molecular weight of hydrogen? The ready answer is 2 grams. But as I told you, you have to keep all the units in the SI units. Therefore, convert grams into kgs. Instead of 2 grams per mole, you have to write 2.016 into 10 to the power of minus 3 kg per mole. Anyways, 2.016, the level of this accuracy is not required. You can even write simply as 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 kg. Now, when we have these two things, RMS is required. What is the formula to calculate RMS? By our previous derivations as well as discussions, we know CRMS is equal to square root of 3RT divided by m. And R is the real gas constants whose value we already know, and T is the temperature given in the question. M is the molecular weight of the gas, which we have obtained like that. Now it is only simple substitution. Substitute the values of R, T, and M in the equation, and then solve for the equation. You will get the answer as 1.84 into 10 to the power of 3 meters per second. So please don't forget to mention the meters per second unit of the velocity at the last. Okay. Now we also know the formula for average velocity, square root of 8RT divided by pi m. Average velocity is the only velocity which contains pi in its denominator. The root mean square as well as probable MP velocities don't have. So again, a substitution should give us the values 1.69 into 10 to the power of 3. Most probable velocity is given by 2RT divided by m to the power of half, that is square root of 2RT by m. Again, you can substitute and find the answer. So with the same set of data, you can calculate all three types of velocities. Or even if you are not very patient enough to apply the formula of different velocities again and again, there is always a relationship between different types of velocities, right? So this is a relationship. CMP is to C average is to C RMS is equal to 1 is to 1.128 is to 1.224. So if you know the most probable velocity, you can multiply the value by 1.128, you are going to get average velocity. You multiply it by 1.224, you get RMS velocity. So you can use this relationship and interconvert different types of velocities also. Now, from this straightforward problem, we will just move on to a bit complicated one. So the question is asking like this. At what temperature the molecule of nitrogen will have the same RMS velocity as the molecule of oxygen at 400 Kelvin? So what is the expectation here? That you have now two samples of gases, different gases, nitrogen and oxygen. And oxygen is kept at 400 Kelvin. And nitrogen is kept at a temperature which is unknown, which we have to calculate now. But there is a commonality between these two samples. What is the commonality? Their RMS velocity is same. So when this commonality is there, can we use this condition and calculate the temperature at which both gases attain the same RMS velocity? Yes, of course, we can do that because we know the formula for root mean square velocity, that is square root of 3 RT divided by M. Now, see, whenever a question is given like this, when the root mean square or any other type of velocities of two gas samples are equal, you can just write two equations for different gases. I mean, you can write the equations for individual two gases and equate them, because the question tells, because they have same velocities. Root mean square velocity of oxygen is equal to root mean square velocity of nitrogen. So write the formula for oxygen, write the formula for nitrogen. And you know, the formulae have 3R in common. So you can cancel the 3R term. So finally, you are left with square root of T1 divided by M oxygen is equal to square root of T2 divided by M N2. So now, what are the things you know? You know T1, you know M oxygen, what is the molecular weight of oxygen, you know, and you know molecular weight of nitrogen, even T2 is the unknown which you have to calculate. So what's the molecular weight of oxygen? Oxygen is 16 plus 16, so 32. O2, oxygen gas is O2, so it is 32 AMU, whereas nitrogen is 14 plus 14, 28 AMU. Now, you can use that in the relationship equation. So T2 is equal to, you can cancel square roots also in the equation here. You can even cancel square roots. You can cancel 3, you can cancel R. So the equation simply boils down to T1 by M oxygen is equal to T2 by M nitrogen. So send the nitrogen term here. So you will get T2 on your LHS and substitute the molecular weights here, and temperature comes to 350 Kelvin. You can ask me a question here. Why am I not converting the grams or AMI into kgs per mole like we did it in our previous problem? Because now since we are taking the ratios, the same units cancel. So even if you convert into kgs, still the ratio of this M by M or molecular weight of nitrogen and molecular weight of oxygen remains same. So when you are having the units, same units in the numerator denominator, directly you can cancel. There is no need to convert into SI units and then cancel. So finally, you get 350 Kelvin. So what is the answer? 350 Kelvin. So at 350 Kelvin, nitrogen attains the same velocity of oxygen, which is at 400 Kelvin. That means what? If two different gases have to attain same velocities, their temperatures have to be different. So nitrogen attains higher velocity at lower temperature compared to oxygen. See, at 350 Kelvin, the nitrogen is having the same velocity like that of oxygen at 400 Kelvin. Why this happens? Because you know the velocity is inversely proportional to molecular weight. You take any type of velocity, not just root mean square is inversely proportional to molecular weight, average is inversely proportional to molecular weight, most probable velocity is inversely proportional to molecular weight. So that's what, since it is inversely proportional, lower the molecular weight, higher the velocity, and vice versa. Okay, thank you.